Hey, this is Travis. The first protocol we're going to talk about in DeFi is called Uniswap. This is a decentralized exchange, or a DEX, D-E-X, and it is really simple. It's probably the most foundational protocol in all of Web3. It allows you to swap one token for another in a decentralized way. So on a centralized exchange, you would have to send your tokens to a centralized exchange, and that exchange would custody your tokens. But in Web3, what you can do is you can, in a decentralized way, using a decentralized exchange, swap your tokens. So I have ETH right here, and I want to swap into DAI, which is a stable coin. And so I'm just going to put in the amount of ETH that I want to swap. It's going to calculate. It's going to look at the current exchange rate between ETH DAI, and then calculate how much DAI does 0.01 ETH get me based on this exchange rate. And I can swap. I'm going to have to pay a network fee, of course, because we're going to send a transaction to Ethereum right now. See, here's the network fee, as always. I'm going to confirm. And transaction submitted, add DAI to MetaMask. This is just so that I can see the DAI token in my MetaMask wallet right here. And I can go to assets, and I can see that this should increase here because I already had DAI in my wallet. But once this transaction is confirmed, I'm going to get more DAI. Now, decentralized exchanges and centralized exchanges, as you may expect, function differently from one another. So how do you make trades on a centralized exchange? They use something called a central limit order book, where people who, let's say that, like we're talking about Bitcoin here. If I own Bitcoin, then I put in a sell bid for how much I'm willing to sell Bitcoin for. And then buyers put in a buy bid for how much they are willing to buy Bitcoin for. So here are the sell bids in red right here, and here are the buy bids in green. And when these match, when somebody says I'm willing to buy Bitcoin for this much and somebody's willing to sell Bitcoin for that much, they match and that transaction is executed. This is what a central limit order book is. So you can see that this is constantly updating in real time, and that the price of Bitcoin is determined by where these sell orders and buy orders meet. The problem with this is that it's very transaction intensive, and it would cost a lot to maintain a central limit order book on a blockchain. So it's difficult to implement this method in Web3. So decentralized exchanges had to do something different, and basically what is happening is there are these things called liquidity pools, where people deposit their ETH and DAI token. It could be any token pair, but just in this case, since I just showed you this example of doing a swap from Ether to DAI, we're going to look at this ETH DAI liquidity pool. So people put in their DAI and ETH tokens, and then a trader like me can come in and swap their ETH for DAI. So we can see here that on Uniswap, the ETH DAI liquidity pool contains 20.7 million DAI tokens and 16,000 ETH. And I just added ETH in and took out DAI. Okay. So this is how a liquidity pool works. And this is all done in a decentralized, automated way. And so when I basically trade my ETH for my DAI, the price is going to update. It's going to make DAI slightly more expensive to purchase in this liquidity pool. And again, this is all being done in an automated way with something called an automated market maker. So we understand that there are these liquidity pools, and that traders are using these liquidity pools to swap their tokens in and out of them. Where do these tokens come from in the liquidity pools? They come from Web3 users just like you and me, who want to earn yield on their tokens. So let's say I have some ETH and DAI sitting in my wallet, and I want to earn yield on that. Then I can deposit those ETH and DAI tokens into a liquidity pool. So I can go ETH DAI, put the transaction or the trading fee that I want, which I'm going to talk about in a second, select how much liquidity I want to add, preview, add that much liquidity, and I'm going to send a transaction. It's going to take several seconds for it to go through, but now I'm a liquidity provider in the DAI ETH pool. So now I've added liquidity, and so that people can come in and either withdraw DAI or withdraw ETH from this pool. And what's happening, the benefit for me as a liquidity provider is I get trading fees that this pool generates. So anytime somebody wants to swap ETH for DAI or vice versa, they have to pay a 0.03% trading fee on every swap. And this trading fee goes to the liquidity providers. It is distributed in a fair way, pro rata, to all the liquidity providers that make up this ETH DAI liquidity pool. Now, Uniswap is not the only DEX out there. There are many other types of DEXs, and you could think of them as competitive with one another. Balancer, Bancor, Curve is another really popular one. And Curve excels at swapping stable coins for one another. Okay, but just understand that there are different DEXs out there and they excel at different use cases. And speaking of stable coins, this is what we're going to get into in the next video. Stable coins are coins that maintain their value over time, and this is better for making payments as opposed to really volatile crypto assets. So having a stable medium of exchange is important in Web3, and we're going to talk about MakerDAO, which is a protocol for getting these stable coins in the next video. Thank you all for watching.